So for him, it worked out well that he went back home and he used his, his resources to be able to tap into that market. I think that there should be more of that. I'm just disappointed that we don't have a co-production, the United States with those countries, because I think that it would have been a lot easier for those filmmakers. I think a lot more filmmakers that are either born here or reared here from Latin America are probably more inclined to set up these sorts of arrangements. You understand? I mean, the closest thing we can come to that is the NEA, and with the NEA, it's mostly for
the National Endowment of the Arts.
Yeah, and that or NEH, and it's mostly documentaries, and you better not have any naked men in it, because they're very conservative. Ever since what, Maplethorpe, that's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, if we had more of that, I think that you would find a lot more, because there's a resurgence of Latinos born here who have a real connection with the country of their parents' origin, who identify not necessarily as being, Dominican American or Dominican York, or Puerto Rican, or Colombian Americans. They're Colombian, they're Puerto Rican, and you see that they're bilingual. In fact, they're not. It's not Spanglish anymore that we talk. We speak both languages. We're dual lingual sometimes. You know what I mean? I mean, our Spanish may not be that great, but we try. And considering that some of us are from the inner city schools, like here, at least in New York, you know what I mean? We're lucky that we can speak English. You know what I mean? So, but that's something that I think you find a lot more because of that sense of pride.
Gotcha. Definitely want to open up to the floor. Questions, please. So. Your name, sorry, where you're from?
Well, my name is Sol Rivera. I am from Puerto Rico, but I live here for over 21 years. I wanted to kind of discuss, because there are a few things here that really sparked me. I'm a film publicist. I do Latino film publicist, and I worked with El Cantante and Sugar, Julie Cursi, and Renos, which is I'm representing the film right now. It's going to open in a couple of weeks. And I know Soul Power, and in my experience with Latino or Latin American movies and Spanish, wow. I must have said something. But you can hear me, that's the most important part. I think there's something really interesting happening. All of a sudden, all these films have just kind of come my way. And in terms, I had a very interesting experience with Sugar, because it was like really the first film that I had to work in the indie side, because El Cantante was such a big monster beast, because it had Jennifer and Mark. It had a whole different dynamic. But with Sugar, I really hear what you're saying, because I feel like sometimes what's happening with Latino and these Spanish films is that they don't necessarily fit within the industry standards of marketing. And for every film is really particular, and it's really, I think it's now they're coming at us faster than at the rate that and as a whole, the different teams can kind of understand how to get it together. And when I came to Sugar, I was the new kid on the block, working with them, so they wouldn't hear necessarily what I would, ideas that I had, and as all these, these few years keep coming and these movies keep going, I think, there's a disconnect between what is the standard that fits the Hollywood movie and what is the standard that fits not only indie movies, but then within that, what could be a standard that would fit our films? Because I think the audience is there, and I see it from the press that there is an interest. Even as these films are, even the Latino press that never was interested is beginning to be interested, and that's a huge thing. Not only from the films getting done here, but from films from Argentina, like Lucrecia Martel, she's so well respected here, and I mean, it's amazing, and I think that's a change. It's a change.
If I can get a question back here. Okay, so.
Hi, I'm Jessica Coles. I'm from New York City, and I was just wondering what you guys think about how, with the way technology is developing so quickly and the internet and how easy it is for, you know, a kid like me, a high school student, to make a film, how you think that's going to affect the traditional way that films are produced and sort of the globalization, and how, you know, whether or not the internet is going to change how much people are seeing films from different countries. And
Maria, do you have anything to address that?
Wow.
Dita, I think.
Well, I think that the globalization is changing everything, not only the film and the way of seeing cinema. I think that as filmmakers, we have to improve the ways of showing films, and the internet is one way of being seen anywhere. I think we should protect our cinematographers, but we also have to show them. So I think that the new technologies on internet are good, and not so good.
So there's good and bad with it, I'm hearing. Okay.
Good evening. I was wondering, the question that you had asked the gentleman before about how he gets notable actors involved. How do you get notable, or how do you contact distributors?
In some ways it's similar. I mean, it's, again, at the beginning we'd go to film festivals, and you would, hopefully, you would be stalked by the distributors after you show the film. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way, and you sit alone in your hotel room thinking what went wrong. But for the most part that worked, and then over time you develop relationships with them, and you basically preview your slate for them. But I think the most practical way is film festivals, and sort of the major film festivals, depending on the type of film it is, you know, whether it's Sundance or Toronto or Berlin or Venice or Cannes. Yes.
If I could clarify that, what if you have a film that's in if I could clarify that, what if you have a film that's in pre-production, you have it budgeted, and it's contract dependent upon bringing the distributor on board?
Yes.
What about that type of a situation?
Well, you know, I think there you would have to figure out precisely what is to be very focused, and to have as much intelligence on the nature of the distribution that you want. So essentially what you do is figure out what you're asking for from a distributor, and then to see which distributors fit that bill, because there's such a wide range, you know, from Magnolia, let's say, to, you know, Universal Studios and everything in between. And then it's, you know, it's really knocking on the door. I mean, they're specifically set up to keep people out, because there's so much. There's so many filmmakers that sort of want to get in. They prefer to be the ones that make the inquiries, so they definitely make it difficult. Again, one way to do that, the intermediate question is, how do you associate yourself with an executive producer or an attorney or an agent or some other entity that can get you in the door? Because that's always the most difficult thing. But so I guess that would be my advice on balance. And then, you know, for the most part, again, you know, it's going to be coming back to the same example. There's many others. The kids were all right. You know, every distributor saw it. Everyone passed on it. You know, it was the highest selling film at Sundance and the most bid film in Sundance. And these are people that, you know, many of which, you know, wouldn't even seriously talk about the film with us. So it's just such a quirky, peculiar place. But I guess in their logic is they'd much rather have you run this sort of gauntlet and then bring it to them as a finished product than to deal with you when it's in this more amorphous state, unless you have the kind of cast that they want and the scale of the film. But that's always a difficult thing with distribution, and rarely for any worthwhile film are they willing to jump in until you actually have finished it. So it's this endless catch-22.
Thank you. Much of the talk has been about dealing with folks at the top of the pyramid. If you have a script, how do you start out?